Hello and welcome to Opening Bars. 1,000 Miles is the debut single written and recorded by American pop singer Vanessa Carlton. It remains her most enduring hit song. The genre for this piece on Wikipedia is listed as Baroque pop, a fusion of rock music with some elements of classical music. Wikipedia claims that this category emerged in the mid-1960s and, this is a quote, is identifiable for its appropriation of Baroque compositional styles, contrapuntal melodies and functional harmony patterns, and dramatic or melancholic gestures. Well, you decide, but I do love the uniqueness of it, and as a pianist, it sure is fun to play. Let's look at the harmonic analysis. We are using the treble and bass clefs for the right hand and left hand respectively, and most notably, we have 5 sharps. You don't see this every day in pop music, and as we discussed in the Jamiroquai example of virtual insanity, it is an unconventional key for anything but classical composers. 5 sharps means we are either in B major or its relative minor G sharp minor. As an interesting side note, B major is sonically identical to C flat major, its enharmonic equivalent, but I'm guessing that most pianists would opt for the lesser of 2 evils and rather play in 5 sharps than 7 flats. I've reduced everything here to the bare essentials, partly from the uppermost notes, but also derived from the accompaniment for the verses. The sonority is clearly major, so our tonic is B. That means that the first chord is the subdominant 4, with no third of the chord present. You will see that notated sometimes as E5. Normally we wouldn't bother including the number 5 as the 5th is implied, but this is a shorthanded way to show that no third exists. You could also write no 3, but just a 5 is cleaner to me. The second interval is F sharp and A sharp, and even without the 5th, suggests the dominant chord of F sharp major. The third chord is B sharp and F sharp with the D sharp on the bottom for a tonic chord in first inversion, and the final chord moves back to 4 on the E. The left hand remains exactly the same throughout. The first and third measures are the same, but the second leaves the melody incomplete on a suspended C sharp, which I'm calling a non-chord note. The final measure mixes things up by reusing the rhythmic motif from the second half of measure 2, and we'll see that notated on the next page, coming to rest on that suspended C sharp in a 4 chord again. Unlike measure 2, I'm actually calling it a suspension this time because I really feel that C sharp wants to resolve to the B. Let's get to the heart of it then, and look at the embellishment of this framework. Here we have a wonderful little syncopation on beats 1 and 2 in every measure, balanced by the more straightforward beats 3 and 4. So if we're counting in 16th notes, we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's practice that in the left hand first. Say the pattern while you play it. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again now with a click track. Now that the left hand is solid, we can look at the right hand. So you can just practice that alone and then add the melodic inventions at the end. The tricky part to all of this is beat 3. It is far longer than you might imagine within the scope of the measure, and it is always where pianists rush. The inclination is, I suspect, to repeat the syncopation, but this is where the true cleverness of the motif lies, in the suspension of the rhythm between the two halves of the measure. As an artist, this is where you want to concentrate your musical sensibility. The final measure adds a little wrinkle to what has come before, because beat 4 is preceded by a syncopation, and it is probably the most difficult to articulate once you yourself have already set up an expectation in the preceding 3 measures. This is so much fun, and it's no wonder that when Vanessa's mother heard her playing around with this fragment, reputedly said, "That's going to be a hit." And she was right. Only once these rhythms are under your fingers and in your muscle memory should you move on to play all of the extra notes in the actual recording. Here are all of the notes now. Now that you know all of the notes, let's look at an understudied aspect of musicianship. Notice I've included suggested fingering for the right hand. This serves a twofold function. One is to find a way to keep your hands as quiet as possible, using only functional effort, and the other is to deliver the desired velocities for the notes you wish to highlight, or not. You already know which notes are more important and which ones are of lesser importance from a reduction on the first page. So to that end, it's easy to see that we should begin with the 5th finger and the thumb to execute the octave. The next logical choice is to use your 4th finger to press the A sharp. Do not use your 5th finger here too, as it's one of the weaker of the 5 digits, and you may not always consistently and accurately move from the white note B natural to the elevated black key of the A sharp. So if we look at the subsequent F sharp then, I would use my 3rd finger, and then, while it is depressed and tied over, swap out my 4th finger. I do this to be properly prepared for the upcoming D sharp without having to move my fundamental hand position, but also to help me steady my impulse to remain on that note and not rush the rhythm. I definitely recommend that you practice this fingering technique. Notice that in the following measure, I don't have to swap fingers in place, but I'm provided the opportunity to replace the fingers anyway, because the former tied note now has been replaced with an intermediate B natural played with the thumb. I hope you enjoyed your lesson today. Remember, don't just play notes. Make music. Until next time, thanks for listening.